Inbound shots fired. 236.
Sending body work down in 5 seconds.
Not 13, Dawson.
Hey, Blue Grit Podcast. We're back this week. Your host, Clint McNear and
Tyler Owen.
Tyler Owen. What's up, Tio?
Man, living the dream. Got the old, got the Jeep back. Got the soft top on. So living life.
Sweet. That's
So
gonna be nice.
Well, let me. So I got the soft top for Janet for her 40th. Well, for her birthday. I shouldn't say 40th.
You meant 30th.
I meant 30th. Yeah. So she's been wanting a soft top. The kids wanted to get her one. So you think soft top? You think you can retract it all the way back?
Yeah.
We found out the night before we got this thing installed on it that it does not retract all the way back. It's just like the bikini top. You can take all the windows and shit off, but you just can't. So she kind of acted happy, but I could tell she wouldn't.
Did you stick with slant back?
Yeah.
I like that, dude.
Looks
It's
sharp,
kinda
man.
good.
Looks good.
You need
How
to
you
post
been?
a picture of it right there.
Right there. I can
Yeah.
do like a background. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see that.
How you been?
Good. Older, fatter. All is good.
How was your drive down?
It's good. It was good. It was smooth.
Yeah, smooth sailing.
Smooth sailing.
Well, a couple weeks ago we had on Jay McAlellan.
J-Mac.
Your new
J-Mac.
nickname.
J-Mac.
Our new Tmpa trading coordinator. I shouldn't say former Mo City. I should say retired.
Retired.
Is that offensive or is that like honor? Is that
No,
honorable?
it's offensive a little bit because former could mean you got forced out.
Yeah.
You didn't leave on good terms.
Right.
I wrote a letter and it was official and everything.
It's like saying, well, that's my former
I'm
wife.
leaving.
Well then, okay, but
Retired means you left on your
it's
own.
your ex-department, so it's like an ex-wife. So which is what the hell does that mean? Anyway, you've got a former colleague that you wanted to bring on, and I'll let you intro.
Yeah, so we brought on today Crystal Sepulveda, or not Sepulveda, Sepulveda. So she's a Missouri City officer, started, 4 years or 3 or 4 years ago.
2019.
2019.
2019.
2019. So I've been retired, so my mind is not as sharp as it once, but yeah, 2019. Almost 2 years ago, went through a critical incident that she's here to talk about, and super great person, and hell of a fighter, hell of a cop, and just here to tell her story and entertain, and it's going to be a good time. So.
Welcome to Blue Grit.
Yep, welcome on.
Greatly appreciate you driving in.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to be very clear out there, Crystal Sepulveda, no relation
No.
to Joey Sepulveda,
As you
our
can tell,
field rep.
yeah.
Joey's going to try and claim
Oh yeah.
that it's like an identical twin,
Hey man,
sister.
you see my beautiful sister on the Blue Grit? Like, no, hell no, this is not his sister. So
No
just to be
relation
clear.
I
Joey.
have family spread out everywhere, so I
Or
wouldn't
his
be surprised
wife.
If we are,
Yeah. You are happily married. What's your husband's name?
Marco.
Marco. Yeah, your husband's not. He was not Joey. You don't have a brother named Joey. We're trying to clarify everything, so not to start any rumors.
So we have a field rep. His name is Joey Sepulveda.
Okay.
That's where the Sepulveda come from.
Yeah.
So we have a field rep
Yeah.
that's barely in the state of Texas, and that's how he says it. So, yeah.
I just wanted to clarify.
Well,
something.
that's better. They were saying crystal spatula, Sepulveda. Like they just throw out all kinds of
Sepulveda.
words. So.
That's good to know. Well, we typically like to start off each podcast by talking about where you grew up, what sparked your interest in law enforcement, and then we'll kind of dive into your career.
Who the heck is Crystal?
Yeah.
Where do I start though?
Where were you born? Where'd you grow
Yeah.
up?
I was born in Houston, grew up in different parts of Houston. So I've lived in Cypress, I've lived in Missouri City, way back when before I even applied there. Richmond, I've just kind of been all over.
All around the Houston area?
Yeah, all around Houston, but just born and raised
Houstonian.
there. Yeah, sure have. What sparked my interest in all of this?
Yeah. What high school did you go to?
I went to Travis High School in Richmond.
In Richmond. How much has Houston changed growing up there and looking back and then being a cop? I've always found it fascinating for guys when I was growing up in Irving, guys that Nick Daughtry, great example. He lived in Irving and then was a cop in Grand Prairie. You were a cop in Garland, but then grew up in Plano. When you're a cop, you see the darkest of people. I mean, the darkest of people.
Right.
And so when you growing up in this city that you grew up in, you think it's just a beautiful town. I mean, some parts, but
Right.
What was it like being a cop? And we'll kind of go back to where your high school was, but what was it like, the transition between that?
Oh, it was like night and day.
Yeah.
Because in my world, it was like a day-to-day, la, 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 no bad, no,
Yeah.
you know, nothing can harm me, nothing. Not that I felt invincible, but it was just nothing bad was happening. And then you become a cop, and you're thinking you're going to get all the bad guys, and, like, we're talking about, like, criminals, right? And then you get into the job, and it's like...
Barking dog call. Or
It's firework ordinance and, you know, just stuff like that. So then you really see, like, people that are sometimes just being petty.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, they just want to report something just because. And then you have the real bad stuff.
Right.
And it's like, it takes a second for your mind to process that this actually exists. Like, this is actually what's going on in the world. But you've been living in la 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 land that you've never been exposed to it, you know? So it was night and day.
Well, comparison to most city, for those that don't know, kind of that we're familiar with the Houston area, in comparison to where Missouri City is, where is Richmond, and kind of lay out Houston and kind of where those parts are?
So Richmond, how far out would you say that it kind of goes out even towards past 59, right? Like 762 and 59, going towards Rosenberg?
Home of Relentless Defender.
Correct.
So Richmond is actually a very small town. They have a very small like city, but the ETJ is like ridiculous. It's like kind of like Katy. Katy is a little small town, but the area of Katy is huge. So
And what is the ETJ?
I couldn't tell you the.
No, what is it?
Extraterritorial jurisdiction.
Yeah, for the ones.
Yeah, so it's
listening out
not
there
in
that
the
know
city
what that
limits,
means.
right? For those
Come
from
on,
the East
bro.
Texas.
Come on, man. You got to speak dumb down this shit.
Yeah, so but Richmond is the county seat of Fort Bend County, so that's kind of the mecca of Fort Bend.
Yep.
You know, everything that goes on in, you know, the criminal justice world.
I can pronounce that. I knew, but that's it.
Richmond.
For those that don't know where that's it.
Yeah, he can pronounce ETJ.
Yeah, I didn't know what the hell you're talking about.
So growing up, any family in law enforcement or going through school, was there something that inspired you to have an interest in law enforcement, SRO, or?
No one in the family law enforcement. Grandparents were military, but they passed before I was even born. I think where like the seed was planted, and I didn't realize it obviously until years later, was when I was 11. I was turning 11. My dad was murdered, and it was just he was barbecuing in the front yard, and he just said, "I'm gonna go to the corner store, maybe to go pick up beer, cigarettes." I'm not too sure. I was 10, and he didn't come back home that night. I think I went out.
Yeah.
Am I too far?
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Better?
Yep.
Okay. He had gone to the store, and I was woken up the next morning by some family members. And how I remember it exactly is that I was walked into the restroom, and my older sister was sitting there, and she was crying. My mom was crying. Family was already there. Everybody's just kind of crying. And then she told me that, you know, my dad had passed away. And it was an unbelievable type of thing. Like, at 10 years old, you don't process that correctly. You're like, wait, I just saw my dad, and then, you know, he never came back from the store. It's one of those. And then the young man that had killed him was a 19-year-old. Apparently, he had been on, like, a shooting spree for, I don't know, a few months. He had shot 4 other people. My dad was just one of the ones that was murdered. And his case actually went cold for almost to the 10th year anniversary. And about a year prior to that, we received some information from the detectives in Houston. They reached out to my other sister and kind of told her, hey, we might have something on this case. And it turned out that a girl that was involved in the shooting had got hemmed up on something. So she's like, I can tell you about a shooting that took place. And so she was trying to, you know,
work her case off.
Save
exactly.
herself, yeah.
And so they started working it, reopened the case, and they closed it right. I want to say right around his 10-year anniversary.
Wow.
They closed it. So they found the guy that did it. I think he was already in jail somewhere in another state because of this. I could be wrong, but that's just the information that I had got on it.
So you're about 20 at this point?
Yeah, I'm about 20 years old when this all goes down.
Okay.
And then it takes some time, obviously, for the trial. So add on another 2-3 years when it actually starts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the guy gets convicted of it.
So at 20, when you hear the news that they finally may have someone identified, what is 20-year-old Crystal, what's going on in your life? Where are you at that point?
It was weird. It was something that it happened when I was younger. So not that it was easier to process, but I didn't know really like how bad it was or how like deep it goes. You know,
Right.
I just know that my dad passed away, and I struggled with that for a long time because I was the little girl that grew up with no dad.
And you graduated, I guess, 17 or 18. So you've been out of high school a couple years. You're working,
Right. I'm just living
and then
life.
just out of the blue, suddenly, hey, we found somebody that may have killed your dad.
Right.
Wow.
And then we're working the case again. We're reopening it. And then the trial starts, like I said, a few years later. And I wouldn't say that I didn't take it hard. It was just kind of, as an adult, now I'm getting this information. This is pre-law enforcement for me, right? So I'm just like looking at the trial, looking at what they have, all the evidence. And it was hard. It was hard to really see what actually transpired that night because I only had a little snippet of information. I was 10 years old. You know,
Yeah.
They didn't give me the full story. I just knew a little bit. And then
Were you getting to interact with law enforcement during the trial and stuff, interacting with the detectives? And
no, I didn't have it. It was like the weirdest thing. And so I would say that like the seed for that was planted a little bit after that because I was still going through life trying to figure out like, what do I really want to do? Like, what's really going to go on, you know? And then just one day, I just, like, it just sparked in me. I was like, I really want to get the really, really bad guys off the street. Like, that's where my heart wants to take me. Like, that's where it's at, you know? And so I got information on an academy. I had just had my son. He was 6 months old at the time when I started the academy. And I just went for it.
Wow.
The killer of your father was convicted?
He was.
And I guess time added to his sentence he was already serving?
Got life in prison.
Okay.
Was it Harris County? I'm assuming they're in Houston.
It was in Houston. So we were, at the time, we were living right on West Park and Highway 6. You probably know the area. You guys
do.
probably, yeah. So it's not the greatest of areas.
It's like the A-Leaf area.
Right.
Yeah.
And this was just a random act of violence, and it wasn't like, cause
So the story that I got is that they were fighting over a parking spot.
wow.
Oh, wow.
Parking spot. I think the guy wanted to park there, but my dad was already parking there. My dad gets out, walks into the store. Some words were exchanged. My dad gets out of the store, gets back in the car. So where the store is, there was a street. Think of like the letter J. It went like this. And we lived in an apartment complex right here.
Oh, wow.
So where that street curved, so my dad comes out, and the suspect, the guy, and his buddies are all in the car. So it's two females and another guy. They get behind my dad. They follow him. And so my dad's driving down. They're driving next to him, and they shoot into the car. And they come from the passenger side. So I want to say the one thing that I do remember, I don't know how many times my dad was shot, but one of them did come in on his side. And that's what I believe they thought is the one that did it.
Fatal.
Well, they did it right before that curve. So my dad and the vehicle just keep going straight and crashes into what used to be an AT&T building, the fence right there. And that's where, and so where your hand is, this is where I am, and this is where his incident took place, right down the street, not even a quarter mile.
Wow.
Not even a quarter. Open up your door and see it right outside.
That's horrible. Well, so the suspect in this is convicted of life. It sparks your interest. What drew you? Because I have heard just a little bit of stories about the background investigator when you applied at Most City.
Yeah,
Was Most City the only place that you applied at?
I did. So while I was in the academy, my instructor, Sergeant Smith, that was there, I kind of just asked him, I said, look, like, just help guide me. Like, I don't want to end up in the wrong place. I want to end up in a good agency. And so where I lived at the time, he was like, well, you have Stafford, Sugar Land, and Missouri City. He said, they're all great. They're all great agencies. So he was like, it's kind of like your choice, what you want to do. So I was like, okay. Missouri City came out, started recruiting with us. Two of my other buddies were in the class with me, and we all just decided to go for it. And then we got through the process together. So.
And then let's talk about your background investigator.
Oh, that guy.
That guy.
Guy.
J-Mac.
He was a little intimidating.
Yeah.
You know, again, I'm coming from the la world. Like,
Right.
I don't do wrong. I don't even think, honestly, I don't even think I had a ticket on my record. I don't. And so I get a call. This is Jay. He wants to do my background if I can come in on this day. I was like, yes, sir. I'm already nervous, right? So I'm thinking I'm just coming in and maybe signing paperwork. Absolutely not. So I walk in and I meet this guy. And he's like, well, come on over. And he's very serious. Like, he's the biggest teddy bear. Like, he's so sweet, so nice, everything. Yeah. But in that moment, he was like, let's go. Okay. So he walks me into the conference room, and we just start talking. He pulls out this binder. He's flipping through pages, and I see my picture there, and I see all kinds of stuff. And he was like, so tell me about this, and tell me about that. Very straightforward, right? Yeah. I'm like, okay, so no chit-chatting. Okay.
You thought it was an interview. You didn't realize it was an interrogation.
Right. So, no, I thought maybe it was just like a little chit-chat. Like, let's just get to know you a little bit and what.
That's
and
all it was.
It was. But it was his version of a chit-chat. And so.
Where were you Thursday at 5 o'clock?
Man, and so he was like, so who is this person? I was like, that is my sister. And he's like, all right. And this person, that is my sister's husband. And so I'm like, okay. And one of the funniest ones, and I won't say his name, but a few years prior to that, I was in a very abusive relationship. And I don't think my family knows about that, but I was in a very abusive relationship, like horrible. He would literally beat me, right? And one night we were in downtown. We had gone to, I don't think we went to an Astros. I think we did go to an Astros game. And he leaves me stranded. He is, belligerent. He is so drunk. And when he would get this way, he would just get nasty and mean. He's calling me every word under the sun for absolutely no reason. We're walking out. Absolutely no reason, right? And so we had parked, I couldn't tell you on which street. We had parked down the way. So I was like, okay, well, he takes off walking on me. And I'm like, well, he's going to end up back at his truck because he's going to try to go home. So I was like, let me just go to his truck. I think I stood by his truck 2 hours. I'm not joking. I had a HPD officer roll up on me, and he was like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm just waiting for my boyfriend at the time. I was like, he's walking around here somewhere. I don't know. And I had been calling him, where are you at? Where are you at? No answer. Well, then 2 hours go by. I'm not joking. When that cop rolls up, 2 gunshots go off on the other street, and he just burns off. So I'm like, oh my goodness. So then I go to the front of the truck, and I'm like, I'm just going to sit here. Well, then I finally get a hold of him, the ex-boyfriend. He's at home, getting into bed. He had taken an Uber, right? How responsible. How responsible.
What an ass.
So I get in an Uber, and at that time we were not living together, kind of living together. It was like I had some stuff there, but it wasn't, whatever. So I go over there. And I knock on the door. He opens the door, and he's already just, when somebody's just in that phase of just drunkenness, they're just, the lights are on, but nobody's home. It's like that, right? And so.
Too much Miller 64.
Yeah. I know, you don't have to worry about that shit. No.
And so I walk in, and then I'm like, why did you leave me? And he goes, what are you talking? So then he goes, and he just pushes me. So my feet, I had just bought some Converse. This is not funny, right? It's not funny, but it's just like, so I had just bought some Converse. They weren't broken in. They were hurting the crap out of my feet. So I had taken them off when I got to the apartment to walk upstairs. Well, I had them in my hand. So he starts pushing me and shoving me, and I just chunk my shoe at him. Well, it hits him in the nose. And he just starts bleeding profusely. And I'm like, oh my God. Who's really bleeding that much on a bloody nose, right? Well, then he comes out. I see what just happened. And I'm just like, oh, shit. So I run to the restroom, lock the door. He comes in. He's kicking it down, punching it down. The knob is all messed up, all of that, right? So he walks in, and I'm in the closet. I'm trying to put stuff in a bag. And he grabs me by the back of my head, my hair, literally throws me into the restroom. I hit my head on the toilet. I'm now on the floor. He drags me into the bedroom and just starts kicking me in the ribs. He's just going crazy, right? And he's like, where's my phone? Where's my phone? I'm like, what are you talking? He thinks that I take his phone at some point in that altercation when I'm on the ground, and because I want to go through his phone. Mind you, he had been cheating on me with X amount of people. I find that out later. Whatever, right? Well, the cops show up, and I call the cops because I'm like, he's not letting me leave. I'm trying to, my bags are now at the door. I'm trying to leave it. He's not letting me because he thinks I have his phone. I'm like, I don't have it. Well, then the cops show up, and lo and behold, they take both of us because he had been bleeding profusely. They didn't know, blah, 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 whatever, right? So he obviously has this information. in my beautiful binder. He's like, so if I call, and his voice, I felt like I was getting in trouble. If I called so-and-so, what is he going to say? I'm like, I don't know. I haven't talked to him in years. I don't know. Yeah. And I mean, like, he had
my probation officer prepared.
Yeah. She beat me up with a Converse.
It was just a one good throw. I didn't mean, honestly, I didn't know it was going to hit him in
Coming
the
from an
face.
Astros game, looks like you learned a lot. Yeah.
They should put me on.
Heck
Throw
yeah.
the ball, right? The pitching ball.
I
But
could use some help this year.
In what year was that you were hired at Mo City? I don't want to ask you because you're retired now, so you forget dates.
Did I apply at Missouri State?
That you were hired.
2019.
2019. That's right. That's right.
2019.
So Mo City, roughly at that point, how many officers does it have now?
I think they're authorized 110, I believe.
And explain their FTO process because you were heavily involved with that as well, for new trainees.
So typically it's 16 weeks. So the field training program, you get them hired. Depending on how many people are hired at the same time. I don't know if you did a mini academy or not.
I did.
Okay, so yeah, if we hire a group of people, we usually put on a mini academy to kind of basics, taser and uses of force and baton and all that stuff, OC spray. And then, they ride for 16 weeks, usually 4 phases. So there's a traffic phase and a night shift phase and an evening shift. I guess at the time you're probably evening shift and day shift. So you have to ride on each of the shifts, and they're usually about 4 weeks in length. And then once you complete the program, then we'll put you on a car by yourself.
Throw
you the beat,
You're on your
and
own.
there you go.
So how long did you work you had an incident, a critical incident, there at Mo City. How long did you work there till after you were hired?
So that happened in 22, and I started in 19. So
you've been on a bit.
right.
Evenings,
I was on nights.
nights,
I was on nights.
the whole time after getting hired?
So my first year after getting hired, I was on days. And then after that, seniority-wise, they kind of just put me where they needed me for the time being until shift bid rolled around. And then shift bid came, and of course they bumped me all the way to the bottom, and I ended up on nights. And
2 years on, you're actually probably you're out of that rookie phase where you're not having to call everybody for everything, and you're starting to kind of get some. I don't want to say cockiness, but you're starting to get some confidence of like, hell yeah, I know what I'm doing
got
now.
this a little bit.
job.
I got this a little bit.
Yeah. So let's talk about that day. You're getting ready for work. It's a normal day, and kind of walk us through the process of what all took place.
So that day, I was on nights. So the night before, I get home that morning, take my son to school, get home, take a shower, go to sleep, wake up, go get him. We have dinner. I take him a bath, getting ready to put him to bed. That's how I left him every night before I went to nights. So we'd have dinner, take him a bath, and I'd put him off to bed. My mom was living with me when I got put on nights just because I was single at the time, and obviously I needed somebody to watch my son. So my mom came to live with me, and she was there. So I left them, went to work, roll call, business as usual. We would try to go grab something to eat before evenings left, and every restaurant and everybody closed. That night, I would say, was kind of like a calm night, even though we don't like to use those words, right? It was. It was calm.
Don't use the cute quiet.
Yeah, and it was. And so one of my buddies that I went to the academy with, that we graduated, went through the process with Missouri City with, he worked with me. He's now a K-9 officer, Officer Landry. So me and him were best friends, right? So we work the shift together. We kind of go to every call together. It's just one of those where if I'm not doing anything, you're not doing anything. You got to call. Let's go. Why not, right? And so him and I had this every night. We'd go to Stripes. We'd get some snacks. We would door up, and we would just talk. Well, that night we had gone to Stripes, and he said, hey, let's go to dispatch. Let's go see what the dispatchers are doing. I said, okay. So we're in there. We're sitting at like a circular table. They're chit-chatting with us. We're eating snacks. And then they get a call. I'm sorry, they get the notification there's a flock hit. So one of the dispatchers, she goes to the computer. She starts working it up. And it's not even remotely close to us. It's on the other side of the city.
For our non-LE listeners, a flock kit. Flock is a camera system that records plates that roll by, and they are actively reading those plates as you roll by. So known offender, stolen vehicle, person in vehicle as a robbery warrant or things of that nature, vehicle used in a homicide,
Right.
that flock camera, when it hits that plate, immediately notifies dispatch, who immediately notifies either all officers or officers that are in that area of, hey, at this intersection, a car just went through used in a homicide 2 nights ago, as an example. Just
Right.
explain what a flock kit is.
And what was the flock hit that night?
So this one was for a vehicle that was involved in an aggravated robbery earlier. So this call came in about 2:00. So the day prior, that's when it took place.
Okay.
So it was an aggravated robbery within that 24-hour
Out
period.
of what agency? Remember?
HPD.
Okay.
Yeah, Houston.
And at that time in Most City, what would your shift have been, like 7 to 7, or what was the night shift at Most
That
City
night,
at that time?
2, 4, 6, 8. This was on a Saturday night, so I'm pretty sure we were at minimums because
they were
people.
The shift would have been 9P to 7A.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I thought you asked how many people were
Oh,
on.
yeah, no,
so
I'm sorry.
That's always
So
like
there was probably about 5 officers on duty for
5, 6-ish.
5
sure.
or 6
When
officers.
you're counting the sergeant.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, it
We
was.
don't count
It was.
sergeants.
Yeah, no.
It was a calm night. So we were eating snacks. We were talking with dispatch, and this call drops. Well, so let's just say dispatch and where we're at the PD, we're here. Well, this call is going down over here, like almost in Houston's jurisdiction. We have a small portion of that in Missouri City. So Landry being a canine officer, usually routine goes, right, guys? Like you get the flock hit, you find it, you light it up. It's going to take off. You get into a pursuit. Like this is all like the textbook
Right.
stuff, right? This is what happens 1,000 times.
The fun shit. Yeah.
The stuff, yeah, the reason why we do this shit, right?
Yeah.
So Landry is always at the forefront, K9, they take off, K9's ready to go. So Landry gets up and I'm like, are we going? He goes, let's go. So we start walking out. We go, so my fiance, but at the time he was my boyfriend, we had only been dating, talking, seeing each other-ish, I want to say 3-ish months, okay? I had already met his family. He had just met my family. And so we were very fresh. Well, I want to say the night before, 2 nights prior, he had just gone to Miami. So he had called me while I'm en route to this call. And so we're talking real quick. And I was like, yeah, I'm on my way to this flock hit. He's like, okay, well, we just got back. We're going to go to sleep already. And this is, I want to say like 2:00.
And he is not law enforcement?
He is not law enforcement. Okay. His father was. He just retired from HPD in November, but he is not. He does something completely different. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll call you. We weren't at the I love yous yet or anything like that, right? So we were like, okay, well, I told him, I'll call you tomorrow. Okay, hang up. Well, then Landry and I are starting to roll up to the scene. So one of the other officers, she and her B partner, can I use names? No, maybe not.
I
I
mean,
would say.
I don't care.
No.
it's up to you, really.
I don't want to out somebody that doesn't want to be,
Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
that's cool.
so the two officers that were in that,
We know.
I know, that beat, that were in that beat, had found a vehicle at a Texaco. But what they had seen is that he wasn't the sole occupant of that vehicle. And then another vehicle had came. So there was multiple people. So there was just 2 of them and multiple of them. So they didn't want to make contact just yet. Okay, well, me and Landry were on our way. Well, if the Texaco is here, Landry and I are coming down this way. Well, as soon as I'm about to make that turn into it, the car bolts out. So the car bolts out, and one of the officers that were there, she goes right behind it. So I pop a U, Landry pops a U, and the pursuit ensues, right? So we're going, she's primary, I'm secondary, so I'm calling all of it, right? Running the red lights, traffic violations, speed, weather, traffic conditions, all this stuff, right? And then at some point, somehow I become primary. So now I'm the first officer. And then Landry's the secondary. And then he starts calling it. Well, I remember thinking at one point, I'm like, damn, this Hyundai Elantra is booking it. Like, I did not know that they could go that fast.
Yeah.
And do you know maybe how fast we were going? Like, do you know at all? I want to say at one point I was looking down, and we were like 110.
Were you in a Crown Vic?
No. I heard that those were like coffins in a bot, like coffins in a vehicle?
Yeah. They're not
Is that
good.
true?
Well, and I was wondering because you said you couldn't keep up with the Hyundai. I was
You damn
figuring
sure
it
weren't a
must have
Chevy
been a-
Caprice. Because
But
how
we
old are you?
also had Explorers, and like either you could floor it, and it took a second for it to So I don't
You got to
know.
wind them up.
You gotta wind
Yeah,
them
it took
up.
a second.
A little mouse.
Hey, we were
you
just
gotta feed
eating
that
snacks.
hamster in that son of a
Hey, we
bitch.
were just eating snacks, and now we're like going. So I
Yeah.
mean, it's trying to keep up with me, right? So, and I remember thinking, I was like, man, this Hyundai Elantra is going.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a fast little car. So anyway, so at some point through the pursuit, we end up in a residential area. And I remember that because Landry is saying it. I can hear her. I'm kind of keeping up, but at this point, I know we just hit this residential area. You either know it or you know somebody around here. You're gonna I already know that
Right.
the foot pursuit is now gonna come out of this. I already know it's coming. So I mean, he's going, and Landry comes out, and he was like speeds of like 80 something in this residential. And I'm talking, there's cars parked on the sides of the street. Well, the car, the Elantra, cuts it to the left, and I can't see what's on that other side. So I'm just like, I don't want to take this corner with this Explorer and hit a car that's on, like, that's going to be pointless. So I slow down. Well, when I round that corner, I see that it's pulled into a driveway, and I'm like, I'm thinking this is where he lives, right? So I pull up. I'm thinking he's already out. Nope, he had just gotten out of the car. Well, then he falls. I get excited because there was like this joke with me and Landry is like, I'm gonna run, like I'm gonna be right next to you, kinda. I'm not a fast runner, but I'm gonna be there. Like if you're running, I'm gonna be either right next to you or right behind you, but I'm coming with you, right? So I was excited because I thought like he fell, like he's gonna be right here. I'm gonna get it, like I'm gonna get this guy by myself, right? Well, he falls. I get excited, and I'm just like, I got him. Well, no, he gets up, takes off, and he comes to the side of the house where like your side gate is, and like you can open and close it. Well, this gate did not open and close like that. It had like a metal gate, and so if this is the house and this is where the gate meets, it was kind of broken off like this. So it didn't swing open or anything. Well, this guy he wiggles his way through it. Well, I have my gear on, I'm a little bulky, and I kind of see around the corner, I'm just like, dang, so I wiggle my way through it. Well, as soon as I round this corner, I can see that he is now climbing the fence on the other side of the house to hop back over to the front. So I'm like, don't hop that fence, like get down. So then, mind you, it is pitch black back there. There's no backyard lights. There's no street lights that are giving me any type of visibility. There's nothing, absolutely nothing. So I see his silhouette because I can see like a little bit of the light coming from the front of the house.
Backlighting him.
So all I saw was a silhouette. But then he jumps down and he jumps into like this pocket of blackness, like darkness. I can't see anything. And I want to say I'm probably standing in that backyard 5 seconds, 6 seconds. And then boom, 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 boom. I never saw a gun. I never saw his hands. I never saw his face. I never saw his clothes. I never saw anything other than his silhouette when he was climbing that fence on the other side.
On the next episode of Blue Grid Podcast.
Well, then we get there, and I think that like HPD had blocked off some streets when we had gotten into, I guess, wherever the trauma center is, so that we could just straight shot through. We get to the hospital. The door opens, and I feel like 30 pair of hands just grab me. Like, everybody just grabbed me. They carry me in. It's crazy you brought that up because I would say after the incident, like post-incident, things have settled, calmed down. I would say within the last year, that's the only thing. It's not a haunting. It's that what if. That's the only thing I constantly think about.